Hello, welcome to my first live stream. It's not easy what to say. Topic is consciousness. I haven't chosen that. It was already there because it's standard, you know. But I just want to say is can talk about consciousness because yes, I'm actually still in speaking flow because I just come from a lecture which I hold at the high school in my country, real life, real talk. And I considered now just to continue talking and started this live chat so we can talk here now. And I led the topic which is already given, consciousness. There is no such video. I just talk about consciousness in several um, circumstances and in several videos. It is just actually it is the most important thing in your whole life, because when you wouldn't have consciousness, you couldn't sit here as a human being. Therefore consciousness is so important, and consciousness is actually everything. So, and therefore consciousness is a big topic, and I don't know why I haven't done any video about it. So now we have the chance here live to talk about consciousness. What is consciousness about? I ask myself all that because, you know, I talk about burnout and depression and all what I have suffered from, and I ask myself basic questions about life and about the purpose and all that. And it was a process of years, but at the same time I also meditated a lot, which helped during that process. And therefore we are here now, and I tell from my knowledge on the one hand and from meditation experience on the other hand. And I bring both together because, you know, I studied then and wanted to know more and wanted to know what I have experienced in meditation, what's this consciousness about, and wanted to know more, and I studied, and yeah, now I'm here and we talk about that. Consciousness is actually this, and you can also say it's kind of a soul, religions, philosophy, and so also name it soul, psychology, of course, too, neuroscience, all sciences, and name it actually soul. But it's so really, you know, we have now here a definition problem. What is soul and what is consciousness? Is that exactly the same, or is soul a part of consciousness, or is consciousness a part of the soul? What is this about? Maybe there are several points. So you can see it is often so that some scientists, even in the same branch, name it different, and that's a problem. And so we must define it for us, that we know about what we're talking here. And so therefore definitions are interesting, and even Socrates 2500 years ago was about talking about definitions all the time with the people on the marketplace, because he thought, hey, what when we don't know what this is, about what we are talking here. So, and therefore he asked people, and therefore we are also here asking and working on it. And even Sigmund Freud and his biggest student Carl Jung had several definitions for things, and I don't know why, but it was, you know, they said, for example, there's an ego and there's a self, and sometimes some psychologists say, so, you know, from Carl Jung. Carl Jung deferred it. Carl Jung is, I think, one of the best psychologists. He deferred ego and self, that you have an ego which is always like craving and, you know, judging others and craving things and to have advantages in life and so. And he deferred it from the self, which is the good part in you, which is the part which wants to develop, which brings you to the good stuff, which, you know, wants that you not just developing in the sense of getting knowledge and going to school. There's also development, and that's also good, but which also brings you to think good, to ethical behavior, and, you know, to this good stuff. And so he deferred ego from self. But some psychologists also take that synonym. They say ego and self is the same and they don't differ anything, and so there is no really good development in the psychology of them. But sometimes they also differ between an ego and a self, and they confuse the terms. And you must really, when you read a psychologist or philosopher or any scientist, you must focus first of all how is the definition of what he's talking about, or she, whatever, and so that you really can find out what's, otherwise you wouldn't understand this scientist, whatever he said or she says. You wouldn't understand when you don't know what does he mean with soul or with consciousness. And so therefore we are now sitting here and talking about consciousness, but this is the biggest question we actually have. And there are several levels of consciousness. There's not just, actually all people are aware about the human consciousness. We all have a human consciousness, and this is actually the ego, what Sigmund Freud and most of the others all name ego. This is the human consciousness. This is the part with which we normally have, and everybody has, not just the bad people. Some people say, for example, when you are a car driver of a special brand, and you don't like another brand, and all the car drivers from the other brand you also don't like, and then when they behave bad in the traffic, when it's stressful in the rush hour, and there is such an driver from this brand you actually not like, then suddenly you say his ego is so deaf. This driver of brand, I can't make ads here, this driver has a big ego. And most people think the others all have egos, that bad people which are in that rush hour and making stress and so. But actually, and the truth is, everyone has an ego, if you want or not. And even if you are the best one, the best person in the world, helping all others and are so good, you nevertheless have an ego, and that's a fact. And that was what Sigmund Freud wanted to say about 120 years ago now. This was when he was famous. Sigmund Freud wanted to say, we all have an ego. If you want or not, it is there. And even if you're the best one, if you're a volunteer or whatever you are, you have an ego if you want or not. It's a fact. I'm sorry, but to say that, but there is lots of evidence on it, and it is what it is, and we all have it. But there is a solution. It's not just that we don't have only the ego and that's all, and we are bad now. So it's not the case. There is hope. There is something else. Consciousness is not just the ego. The ego is just human consciousness, and this is just a small part of the whole consciousness we have. And so that is what I mean. There is more, and you can see there is hope, that you don't have now to struggle or to say, oh my god, I have an ego, I'm so bad. No. Your ego even has a good function. It's not just only bad. This is yes, it can become bad when you use it in bad ways. But first of all, your ego has just a natural function. It has just a function that you have to find food. You need food, you need housing, clothing, you need that basic stuff. Everyone needs that. There's nothing wrong with that. And so everyone has an ego, because the ego is caring for that we have a good life, that we have, that I have clothes. This was because my ego said to me, we go shopping. So, and therefore we have it. And you need food, and therefore you have it. It's not bad. We have to live with that ego. That's a normal thing. But this is just one part. And when we have everything, and we are nowadays a global world where in almost all countries most people have clothes and food, and there is still hunger in Africa and in some countries, and this is not good. But this is today now not the topic. An ethical topic we will also have, but this time we talk about that in most countries people have the basic stuff, and when you have the basic stuff, then you are fine and everything is good. But the ego is still striving for more, and that's the problem. At this point, the ego becomes unhealthy. At this point, it is not, um, yes, at this point you actually don't need the ego. It's too much. And because it's striving for luxury, and not just for luxury, it's also striving for concurrence and, being better than the others, having the bigger car. And this is all ego produced, and this is actually, we don't need that trouble with the other people. But the ego always wants that trouble. And and when you have everything, when you have the basic stuff, when you have clothes, foods, enough, housing is okay, you can pay your apartment, whatever, when this is all right, then actually ego's work is done. But the ego will not end. The ego wants more and more and more and more, and trouble with others to get better things. And therefore, yeah, we must see that we can bring it and we can live with it. But this is actually not so. For many people, it is still hard to deal with the ego, because they are so identified with it, and they are not considering that the ego, the human consciousness, is just a part of the whole thing. They just focus that there is an ego, and they are not aware about that there is such thing. But even those people who know about an ego also just see it in others, but not that they self have also an ego. And that's the problem. And therefore, um, there are, you can see there are several problems. The first thing is, most people consider to have an ego. And the next problem is, those people who even consider there's an ego, they don't think about how to overcome it. What can I do against, or what, how can I live with it, or can I something do against it, or what is there else? And there is a third group which is considering the whole thing. For example, neuroscientists, which say ego is just a small part. Ego is just a small part of the whole consciousness. There's a big thing, a real big thing, which you have, and the ego is just a small part. And that big thing, that that absolute consciousness, is, you can say, higher consciousness, but this sounds for most people esoteric. But also in sciences, they sometimes use it. There is a higher consciousness. Carl Jung named it self. This is what he said is the opposite of the opposite of this, an ego, and there's a self. And this self is actually what they also name higher consciousness. Ego is human consciousness, and the self is the higher consciousness. And in your development as a human, actually, it is good to focus this self, because the ego always wants trouble and makes trouble and destroys relationships, and you have all this trouble with that. And so, why more focus on the ego? So we must more focus on the self and on this consciousness which is there and which we should develop. We all have this big consciousness and just live in that small part of the ego. And that's so, there is so much wealth, and we just take a small coin, so that doesn't really make sense. Why not take the whole wealth so we can benefit from it? And you can reach this. For example, there are several methods with which you can decline the ego and increase higher self. For example, meditation is about reducing ego and its behavior. And they also have evidence from research that through meditation, people become more ethical. People get more ethical behavior. But why? Of course, it is the solution, because the ego declines and the higher self grows through meditation. And therefore, it explains why the research reports say ethical behavior also grows. Yes, of course, because the higher self, the higher consciousness grows. And therefore, you can, you know what I mean. This is, ego grows smaller and the self grows bigger, and that's the point. But we can't do this just through knowledge. Now, first of all, you get the knowledge because I have told you that there is something more than just the ego, and you have this knowledge. But just this knowledge is good to know, but when when you don't work with it, yeah, then the knowledge not enough. It must be more. So therefore, I want to remind you, meditate, meditate, meditate. It's, and don't make too much pressure. So I don't want it to make pressure here now, but it's really important to meditate so that you can really develop in the right direction and not in the wrong ones, you know, with the ego, which I have already told. And so we want to develop. And therefore, I bring a few meditation methods. And I wanted to say to you, the next time, I try to again and again upload videos regularly, about once or twice a week. But I go in January, I go to India, I booked a flight, and I go to India, and I really want to learn meditation. I know meditation since 10 years, as I said in the video description, as I said, the channel description and the channel trailer. Yes, I meditate since 10 years, but now I really want to improve, and I have I have an ashram where I go. I really want to learn meditation, and I bring some stuff with me to you that you also can benefit from it. When I come back from India with new meditation methods, I will reveal it to you. I make videos and explain meditation methods which really improve your development and from which you really can benefit. And that was what I wanted to say. And I think that's the right thing what I can do. Do you notice have when you made a right decision and suddenly you have a good feeling then? And sometimes you sing a song. For me, what I'm actually, I don't sing songs or so when I'm alone or so, but suddenly I had a song which I haven't heard for years, and it says to me it was kind of the right decision. And so I really felt also in my heart that it was the right decision to book the flight to India, to really learn to meditate, and to bring, after this, I want to share it with you, and I bring the new meditation styles. And I hope I can explain it as well as, you know, that you can understand and that you can get the points there. What I want, what's the core, what's the main thing of every meditation style, so that we can really work with it together here on this channel. And I hope that you can develop, and that we can go in this direction, that we can increase your development to the self, to the higher part of consciousness, that we not just stay in this human consciousness, in this ego. So we have to develop this higher consciousness, this truth, your actually self. Your actual, they say also, actually, you know, this channel is not religious, and I already said it. And so, but all religions, and what I could find out is that all religions and that good philosophies also said one basic main thing, and they all said the same, that you have to develop something which is inside of you, but you have it actually lost. It was earlier, it was there. There was something, and they mean that we were in kind of a higher self, and we lost it. We fall out of this, and we fall deeper, 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 until we were just the egos, and still are. And now we have to find it back. So this was what they wanted to say with paradise. There was something better, and we lost it, and we are now in, you know, paradise is not a place like some ordinary religious groups say. Paradise is a mode of mind, or a mode of consciousness, and we have lost it. And now we are here, and now we have to go upstairs again. So, and therefore we meditate. It's not an esoteric thing. Esoteric people also would say something like that, but it developed, and there are lots of sciences which can give evidence for it, that there is a development and it works. And it's not just that the esoteric people know that or say that. There is nowadays more and more evidence on it, and there's really something to develop, which we have to develop through meditation. But you also can support it, not just through meditation, you also can support it through other bodily stuff, like fasting. I also will make videos about fasting, because I already fasted for 40 days in a row this year. 43 days, and last year 46 days in a row, and it really helped for meditation progress, and I want to make videos about it, and you also will find here on the channel. And but first of all, the meditation methods itself are the most important thing, and therefore I bring it for you, and when I come back, and you will see here on the channel. See you next time. Bye.